Hello, everybody, and welcome. Bill and I are here to show you probably our favorite thing, the program for learning. But this is the Ontario edition. We're going to dive into the curriculum and specifically how it connects. But welcome to Your Voice is Power, just a phenomenal program that I can't believe we haven't done this sooner. It's just phenomenal for student engagement and learning and the curriculum. I have done it myself with my own grade 8 students, and it was magical. It was absolutely magical, and I love seeing their creations. A bit of a little spoiler alert. But before we begin, I do want to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional land of the West Saanich people. I think it's really important to take the time to get to know the lands on which you live and learn and play and create beautiful songs, because songs are storytelling and it's a way of communicating messages. And I'm so lucky to have grown up in these lands as a young girl in the same school district. And now I'm a teacher in the same school district that I went to. So just Haishka, we do encourage you to check out the who's.land. They have English and French versions, so you can check it out. But take a moment, connect at the lands that you're on. So when you're creating and remixing things today, you can dive deeper into the meaning and your personal identity and your message. So that's a little hint to what that will transpire today. I am Emma Cottier. I am a facilitator for Logix Academy and have been for quite a few years now. I also do some design work, and I love to just be able to continue my passion for technology and enhancing student learning. I'm also, as I mentioned, a grade 8 teacher, so I'm also the one using these programs in my classroom, and that's just a real testament to their power and the way in which we can amplify those student voices. And like I said, I'm just outside of Victoria, British Columbia, on the very southern end of Vancouver Island.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Emma. And my name is Bill Corcoran. I'm also a Logix Academy facilitator, and I'm here based in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So I'm super excited to bring the Ontario aspect of this connections to the program, and definitely valuing and going back to the previous slide when we talk about, the lands we are on, the unceded territories. Myself, growing up in Ottawa, Ontario, attending the same school board, working for the same school board for the last 18 years. For me, it's the Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and I am grateful for the land we work and we play on every day. So thank you, Emma, for joining us on this journey with one of my favorite tools as well. For everybody, you'll see it pop up as well, but the bit.ly for this slide deck is bit.ly/yourvoicespower. Why VIP is the first time I started looking at them, like, what is that saying? Well, your voice is power. That's the acronym -ON for Ontario -teacher PD. If you have your mobile device, the QR code leads you right to that as well. So please feel free to access these slides. We will be following them loosely, but also jumping in, most importantly, to the active tool. So I will throw it to you. Tell us a little bit about Logix Academy there.
Yeah. So Logix Academy, we are a team across Canada, and we're facilitators. There's actually a Logix team that has all sort of wonderful roles, but basically we are spread across Canada, and we just all have our passions for technology. We provide STEM products. We provide Pro-D. If you just have a dream of technology that you would like in your classroom, please reach out to us. There's always a ton of free events. We have everything from even just little Tailbot, the adorable robot for preschoolers, to like 3D, laser, you name it. And we do Pro-D and anything you can possibly imagine. So we have all these wonderful partners, Microsoft, Minecraft, or even partners with like Canva.
Canva, yeah.
That's one of my special places that I love. I live, that's my second house actually in Canva. But we're just in all these wonderful partnerships. So if we can support you and your learning in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. And one of the benefits of being working across Canada is we do get approached and do partner with lots of great organizations to help facilitate their initiatives. So Your Voices Power is a partnership with CanCode here in Canada and the Amazon Future Engineer Program. And so that partnership allows us to bring this to you free of charge. So it is great to be able to do that, because the funding, the backing is coming from great partners such as these two. So we are highlighting it now. No, it's not a misplaced slide for you. It is the exit survey, because I want to highlight the importance of being able to, one, receive feedback, not only on the program, but on the session, but most importantly, be able to share and why we're trying to create that movement for our vendors, our partners that are there, to know that their investment is also worthwhile. So I know that being able to do this, I've been in sessions, professional development sessions, where they're like, oh, it's the last 5 minutes, here, do this. And you're like, oh, one more time. But you do it because you know that you value the feedback when you run the session. So we're hoping that this is something you're able to do at the end. Perfect. Anything you wanted to add to that? I know he's
just like the power, I think, yes, with Amazon, and they're providing like lots of generous dollars for these programs.
Yes.
I think it's great for them to see what communities they're hitting, and I love how they're investing in amplifying like Indigenous voices and storytelling in these programs in school. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really small gesture on our part. And I've even filled it out because I've had it in my classroom too. Yep. It's a small thing we can do to make sure that these valuable learning experiences remain for our students. So please fill it out. We'll remind you of it again before we leave you today.
That's right. And it's not a very cumbersome form. So it's just something that allows us to be able to support continuously. And of course, if you do so, Logix will throw in an extra level of incentive there. Is just by filling it out. Who doesn't want the opportunity to win a $100 Canadian Amazon gift card? So I definitely, that's just a little bonus to take on the moment. So here's some general information about the program. And so we're coming back to this sort of main screen here. This is the one that kind of launched the program. And Emma, I'm going to throw it to you, definitely, because you had your students. But the first time you saw this image, what kind of stood out for you? Was there something that your eyes went to, your brain went to first?
Yeah, and I have to admit, I first saw this image many months ago because I make a lot of the social media posts for Logix. There's a little back end, little secret for you. But the orange music note. And I was looking at, but then my eye caught just this stunning feather. And I see the world in color. I'm a very colorful person, and just connecting the feather, but the powerful color of orange, like it just really stood out to me. That powerful contrast of the orange on that background really stood out. And Bill, I have to tell you a story about my students, because grade 8 students, they're really perceptive, and they see the world in a different way. And I didn't even think about this, but you can call me DJ Emma momentarily, because on the bottom of the orange notes, my students, and I don't actually know if we're right, but we're just going to roll with this. But they almost look like the music, like the sliders that you do if you're adjusting like the volume and the tone, or like the different movement. And maybe now, because I've seen this lesson and done this lesson, that maybe it's that. I don't know. I might have to reach out to the Youth Empower people, but that's the a particular aspect that really stood out to my own students.
Yeah, and I think for myself, definitely I went there. Secondly, because for me, I've always been a big proponent of student voice. So not only was the word voice center and in big fonts, it connected with me, but then I did go right to the orange music note with the feather, and then I kind of connected. I really like your students' examples there, where you're kind of sliding scales on that sort of music dashboard. I want to know the terminology now. I'm definitely going to find it off, but I can definitely visualize what your students were picking up on. For me, it was almost like a little bit of coding. It kind of looked techie as well. But so I think we're kind of getting that sense, though. Right above that, it says equity. So we're talking about stories. We're talking about our Indigenous connection. We're talking about your voice. We're talking about music. So this is all the things that are going to be coming together. If you've never really heard about Your Voice's Power and the program, and somebody maybe just shared this link with you and said, hey, you got to listen to this. So what is it about? So this is something you can even do with your students, is kind of like unpack this visual here. But a little bit more about the program here. I'm just going to, while Emma's loading it, kind of give you some context here as the video is coming up, that you do use the word 2022, I think, in here, but the message is the same, and the contests are yearly. But the contests we'll be talking about aren't specific to us being to do what we need to do today, which is use the tool. So here's a little bit more about Your Voice is Power.
The Your Voice is Power contest will launch in early 2022 and will provide middle and high school students with the opportunity to learn about coding and social justice through music. EarSketch is the coding software created by Georgia Tech University that allows students to turn code into music, along with beats and loops provided by artists like us.
On déconstruit une chanson pour pouvoir en créer une nouvelle. Donc, je pense que c'est la plus belle expérience qu'on peut faire avec une chanson déjà existante.
I think learning to code is really important these days, especially for young Indigenous people to get involved with the technology that is continuing to advance in today's society.
Hip-hop is a celebration of culture, energy, intellect, self-expression, and survival. Hip-hop teaches us that our voice is power.
You might not be aware of the light and how bright you are, but you have to know that you are capable of inspiring other people.
Maintenant, il est temps d'utiliser cette voix à travers la musique et le codage. Alors, êtes-vous prêts?
The time is now to create your remix. Let go of your inhibitions, don't be afraid to share your voice, and write from the heart.
Vous êtes un programmeur. Faites des rythmes, apprenez le codage, promouvoir l'équité.
And I can't wait to hear what you come up with.
Wow. I mean, I've seen that video many times, but every time I just am so attuned to it and I listen to it in a different way. It's so powerful.
No, I love it. It just gives me the chills, but also just the potential, the student potential in this program and to make their own songs,
Yes.
doing things away. It's phenomenal. So we're going to find out lately, but there's been a lot of generous artists that have contributed to this program to make it possible.
That's right. Yeah, I can't wait to be able to share those with you, because the students will definitely recognize some names, not only in that video. They'll probably say, hey, we've seen that or met that person, or at a school assembly or just an initiative, but definitely from the world of music, they will recognize some of our featured artists. But a little bit about Your Voice is Power. We'll jump into the website in a little bit when we go to the to be able to start coding, and I'll highlight it a little bit more there. So I won't go over it at this moment, but there is information that we're talking about today for teachers, the modules that we're talking about. It's broken down. But the great thing is that we're doing, basically the first part of the lessons here for you and facilitating it. And then there's a little bit more about what the competition could be and what it looks like, and then the ability to move forward and start coding. And so this is just an example of module 1. We're kind of doing module 1, a little bit of 3, a little piece of pie there for module 3, but that's where we're kind of digging into today. But if you click on that when you're on that website, and we'll show you how to get there with yourvoicespower.ca, then you'll be able to click on that. It really does unpack it for you in a really nice and tidy format for yourself. If you wanted to refer to anything further than what we did today and what the slide deck brought to you, you'll be able to access it there. So obviously we love cool tools. We love when things happen and be able to use it, and when we see students get excited about something. But we're also in the business of learning, and we're accountable to the curriculums that we are, and in this case Ontario. So how does this fit with everything we need to do? Well, across Canada, we have the Council of Ministers of Education, whether it's called Transferable Skills, Global Competencies, 21st Century Skills, 6Cs, 7Cs, whatever you want to call it. The big foundation here is that we do have key transferable skills, core skills that we want students, whether tied to a specific curriculum expectation or as a holistic learner to be able to do. So you can see on this image, you have critical thinking and problem solving. This will be evident within Your Voice is Power, the creativity, the innovation, but also learning how to learn and be able to self-direct yourself, that ability to communicate. And then, of course, when we're looking at the global citizenship here, we're going to tie it to social justice. And so what does that look like in terms of being able to share your voice, their voice, your students' voice in something that they want and feel passionate about? So in here, transferable skills in Ontario right now, we can obviously see this goes from the Council of Ministers of Education. Now we're into the Ministry of Education. Pretty much aligned with what that is, slightly nuanced in terms of the wording here, but you have the same idea with getting into digital literacy with the coding as well. And then that creativity highlights out itself. But for me, I brought it forth as well, actually, because we're in Ontario, and I know I worked with many school boards that have been part of this project as well, New Pedagogies for Deeper Learning, with Dr. Michael Fullen, who works out of OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. You can see that these are aligned as well with that citizenship creativity point. So I just wanted to highlight that this is also in alignment with those for those school boards that are using this framework. And then we were so close, just like, oh my, Emma, I know you're out in BC and you took it and you ran with it, and your government said, hey, we're going to use these transferable skills and we're going to use these core competencies and we're going to use them for our report card and we're going to use them for all these things. In Ontario, we were so close in 2016 under our government, and then it did not move forward in the way we wanted to. But you can see that this is where it's still working in those same frameworks that we want. So that's where we're trying to get to. And of course, it's in the curriculum when we're talking about these transferable skills. So here's some things, just so you know that we're pulling it out. I taught grade 6 before moving into a school board central role. And I can tell you, even though some of the core curriculum that they've put on the website for Your Voice is Power is kind of 7 to 12, we start talking about text-based coding with Python. Teaching grade 6, I definitely see a place for grade 6 students in this as well. So I think as we're talking about this curriculum, you could be a grade 5 or 6 teacher and say, oh, that connects with me. You could be a grade 7 teacher and say that connects with my curriculum in whatever facet. You could be a grade 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 teacher and say, and find what I have chosen the grade 8 curriculum to really just kind of showcase today. But I think you're going to be able to make those connections at all times. So whether it's in language, about using media tools to kind of share your story, to be able to develop ideas and kind of move through it, whether it's the arts and the music about arranging things for a clear purpose, or composing for an audience. And then of course in mathematics, we do have that creating computational representations within that sort of algebraic piece. So we have that coding expectation within the math curriculum. And then of course, going into our history curriculum, whether it's just the impact of what has been for anybody in Canada, specifically Indigenous groups, that what does it look like between when this was occurring and to what it means now, and how that impact on any groups of peoples who are living on this land, especially our Indigenous people. So I think for us to dig in at that piece, you have so many entry points to talk about this. And then when you talk about social justice, anything to move forward. So a quick walkthrough. So before we go into here, we're going to start talking about going live. Is there anything you wanted to add about the context, Emma, before we kind of go into the tool?
No, it's just, Bill and I are pretty well versed in this Your Voice is Power. And even though we don't have time to go into the curriculum, like it hits so many. Mm-hmm. And it does it. I mean, even though there's 8 modules, it can do it just in one lesson. So it's just, yeah, it just blows my mind. I am so thankful for that they've done this program, because my students are just so in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's the greatest thing about our colleagues, our peers as educators. They see it and they're like, I could do that. And this is why I would do it. And this is when this is how it ties into my own curriculum. So we'll let them be creative in their own ways and in terms of how they could use it. So I'm going to jump into the live yourvoicespower.ca site in a few moments. And the key thing that I'm going to highlight is we're going to yourvoicespower.ca. And once we get there, we're going to be looking for the Start Coding button, because we're not going to remain in Your Voices Power website. We're going to actually go to a program called EarSketch, and that's going to be the creation tool that we're going to use. And when we get there, it's going to kind of look, once we get going, it's going to look very blank when we get there. But once we get going, it's going to remind me of, at least maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, was when I used iMovie on iPads with my students. And it kind of had those tracks where you had some video and then you had some audio overlaying it, and then you maybe had some transitions. And so what I'm kind of referring to here is that maybe in your own different software, you kind of have these different tracks here. And so in my mind, it kind of like was kind of like iMovie the first time I started using the EarSketch platform. But in this case, it's all about audio and tools and so forth. But this is what we're going to get to. But just to kind of say, well, what is EarSketch? I'm going to go in and learn about Python, all these different things. Well, you know what? You're going to be a coder within 30 seconds, because we're going to tell you how to do it and how simple it is to move forward. So I'm going to back out here, and I'm going to get to the Voices Power website so I can walk you through it. And up at the top right, so yourvoicespower.ca, go to Start Coding at the very top right, and I'm going to click on that. And it is going to load EarSketch. I'm going to actually log out, and just because you most likely have not used the platform before. And I'm just going to share this tab now that I've logged out. And so you might see something like this that is very, very blank. On this one, you might actually even see that there's some sounds on the left-hand side as we move forward. And I will talk about that in a little bit. But the first thing that we're going to get you to do is to create an account. Well, before we do that, I know, coming from at least the work in Ontario, I know this is right across Canada, is about using tools, digital tools, and the information it collects or doesn't collect. So privacy and security, that type of thing. Well, what I love about this tool is that it's only asking you to create a username and a password. You can put your email in there should you so choose, but that's only for account recovery processes. So it's not collecting anything more, but it doesn't also have, sign in with your Google or Microsoft account. So what does that look like to be able to sign in and be able to use this tool? And why would you want to create an account? Is because you would want to save your information. But if you only wanted to show your students one day, technically you could have them just click around with what we're about to show you. But most people that I've used and worked with have created those accounts because they want to save their work at the end of the day and be able to revisit it in the future. So how do you create an account? At the very top right, there's create or reset account. It's very small on my screen, but the very top right, and you're going to click on register a new account. And what's going to pop up is username, password, confirm password. And here's the optional email address should you wish to be able to reset your password. So username, the students and yourself have the ability to choose what you want to choose to put as your username. Again, it is free reign, so maybe go around some parameters of what it is. And I know you can't start with a number, right, Emma? Was that something we've ran into?
Yes. This is because I've done it in my classroom. Yes. So please do not start the username with a number. But what we did in our district, or maybe even all of BC, all our students have a student number at their district emails. So we had them do the first letter of their name. So I'm Emma. So it was E, their student number. And then that's it for their username. And then we ask them just to use their regular school passwords that they keep track of, just so that it kind of increased the likelihood of them remembering. And remember, no need to enter those emails. Leave that blank so we're not using any personal information. But that worked really well for my students. And then if they did forget, I could be like, okay, well, we used your first letter of your name, your student number, and then what your usual school district password was.
Yeah. And I've heard so many different creative ways about doing that, but that's a prime example as well. So we're going to pause here for a second and encourage you to hit pause on the stream so that you can log in, create your username, and we'll give you about a few moments to do that. So just when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll see you back here in just a few moments. All right, so hopefully you've been able to create your account, your username, and your password and get logged in. So I'm going to bring you on a little tour of what the EarSketch platform, because it can look pretty busy. It's functional, but there's lots going on. So if it was overwhelming to me the first time I went in there, I'm assuming it's overwhelming to you, and it will be overwhelming to your students. So let's walk through a little bit about what you're seeing here and what it is, what we can do to maybe change some of the viewing aspects of it. I'm actually just going to click and log in first. There we go, and log in. So I'll start right here at the right-hand side, and you see the word curriculum. It says, welcome students and teachers. Welcome to this. It's got little tutorials you can follow through. So if you've gone through this session today, the recording, you have access to the slide deck. This is a resource area for you to use at any time. Ask it a question, try to figure out where it is, and it will give you support information on that. I've used it a couple times. It's actually pretty simple to use and does get you there quicker than putting you on a goose chase. But you don't need it there all the time. So I like to hide it from my view, because what I'll call the real estate of my viewing area is way more important during this process, because you're probably on some smaller screens and you want to be able to see as much as you can see as we start building. So up at the top near curriculum, there's a little toggle bar. If I click or hover over it, it says close curriculum. You can't actually see it on the screen, but on my screen I can. If you click on that toggle, it hides away, and I'll click on it again, and you can see that it's there. It's just giving me more real estate, more viewing area. I can also do this on the left-hand side under Content Manager. There may be times in which I want to be able to do this, such as when I may be troubleshooting or want to see my whole project in a better way. However, while you're building, you're going to be using a lot of these items in the left-hand side. So I don't personally do it too much, but I will let you know that you can do that. There's also, in parts of these screens, there's little, in the black bands, there's little white dots that if you hover over it, you get little arrows, and you can move these little viewing panels up and down and left and right so that you can use it the way you want to if you needed to. So that's just handy, and you'll see me do that a couple of times once we start building without me even thinking of it. I'll just do it so I can see better and show you better. So what are we seeing here? Well, up here is our workstation. This is where we'll kind of have those iMovie tracks that we were just talking about show up. Well, we have to do some things before that for it to be able to occur. And we have code editors, which will change because we will start this process and we'll be able to do more as we go. But for the next few moments, I'm going to click around. This is actually my favorite part of the session, because as we go through, you're going to be kind of clicking on different artists and instruments, and it might get a little bit noisy. If your students have headphones on when you do this, it'd probably be beneficial, but if not, it's usually pretty good. But I look on the left-hand side here and I get excited about a lot of the names that I've seen. What jumps out to you? Was there a name that initially when you looked across, Emma, that you said, okay, that one I'm clicking on first?
Well, I was very intrigued because I noticed like Dakota Bear and a few others from our introduction video.
Yeah.
But I also know that Pharrell Williams makes me happy. And, Alicia Keys, I'm just a huge fan of her vocals. So it was just great to see a nice blend of like modern but indigenous stories. Like it just has a really pretty extensive library of things to pick from.
It does. And for me, my connection, not only seeing it in a couple of our schools, but at our school board with our leadership, was the band Twin Flames. So it does have Indigenous artists, not just Indigenous artists, Canadian Indigenous artists that are here within the platform. And it's also a good sidebar to talk about copyright in music a little bit, because all these artists have generously donated their copyright, their music rights to this program to be able to use and be able to remix, which is amazing. So it's not like EarSketch and Your Voices Power is just kind of using them, because that would not be just. They have the rights to be able, because they've been donated by these awesome artists. So what I'll do is I will click around a couple times. You can see at the top we have artists, we have genres, and instruments. Let's start with instruments. I'm going to go down to some strings and see what occurs. So we have Alicia Keys here. Here's an acoustic guitar. There's a little green play button here if I want to preview it. Oh, I like that one. So if I like it, what should I do? What should I do?
You should heart it.
Okay, let's go. My favorite right on the right-hand side is a mark as a favorite, because as you go through, to me, even though I can see AK is Alicia Keys, the acoustic guitar is obviously that, but I lose them all the time. I'm trying to find them when I need them in the moment. So by favoriting them, I can then filter later, because what we're going to end up doing is creating some tracks with about at least five that we're going to find today that we go through. But your challenge for the next while, once I say go, is to go through, try different instruments. Remember to unclick them if you have them, because it does narrow it down. If you click on an artist and then go to instruments, you're going to filter down, and then you're going to be like, oh, where's all my options? You always need to go back to the top here. But let me go to artists, and let's go to Pharrell, and let's get into, let's see.
Black man, black man, black man, black man, black man, black man.
I like that. And they're just very specific chunks. Some of these are only like a second or two, and they just repeat. You'll notice that as we go through. And I think you'll start figuring out the social justice piece to this, because there's a lot of specifically chosen clips, audio
Very
clips.
powerful
Powerful
combinations you can use. And maybe just for teachers joining today and just have done this lesson with my students, this explore time through the library is really, really powerful, because it allows them to be familiar with it when they actually go to remix and make their own beats. If you're just diving into the beats, it could be just a little overwhelming, or then maybe not be that familiar with how to navigate between it. So we always give about 5 to 10 minutes in classrooms for students to really navigate. And we do encourage them to heart about 5 things before they start actually making.
That's right. And you know what? One, they're going to do it anyway, so we might as well beat them to the punch. And two, it's just an amazing experience to maybe dive into some artists that you maybe haven't heard too. But yeah, having that time to go in there, we encourage it, because it's just a beneficial time that will help them in the next steps as we do. So not only that, for our students, we're actually going to ask you to do that right now. Take about 5 minutes and then click around. Definitely favorite some of those for you, because we're going to be using them in a bit. So pause the video, and when you're ready, come back and we'll jump into creating and remixing. All right. Hopefully you've had some time exploring all those awesome, video clips that we had, the beats that we had going in there. Well, I think it's just time to get remixing. What do you think, Emma?
Oh yes, Bill, I can't wait to hear your tune.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, well, thank you. Not a lot of people always want to hear my tune, but we'll go from there. So yes, now that we have some things favorited on the side, you can show it. But for the moment, I'm going to say, well, what does this mean to actually start coding? In the middle, it says you have no scripts loaded. Click here to create a new script. I'm going to click on that in the middle, and it's going to have a script name pop up. So I'm going to call this ON test for Ontario test. Obviously, you can be more creative in that moment, or something specific. It can be just test if you want to, but your next one would have to be test 2 or test 3, or you can have something specific to your class. Python is what we're going with today. It is common in terms of what we are trying to push across, but we do know that there are people that are very familiar with JavaScript, or maybe prefer it. At the end of the day, we're working at text-based coding. And what we'll be able to do with it is different than what you might be used to with block-based coding. So Python, and I'm going to click on create. And it didn't really do much different, other than we have a very set of words here that I'm not going to touch for the moment. In the future, you might be able to, but for our coding today, I'm going to keep that very, very basic. And I want you to try to understand a couple things that we're going to be doing with the tool. Is that one, we need to put in media. And 2, we need to tell it where to go and how long to be there. It's like making a recipe. We need to break down those steps so that we understand what it is that it needs to do. So I'm going to jump back a little bit in here because it's going to be, we don't see anything in the workstation right now, so it's hard to visualize, but I want to show you an example in our slides of what that kind of looks like so we can connect it in just a moment. Just go to full screen. So we've done these steps. We've created the account. We've created the stage name, the username, and the passwords. We've gone through some of our artists, and these are highlighting our Indigenous artists that we have here in Canada as part of the program. Love them all. And then here's the code name in terms of what we're going to be able in terms of creating the project, and click create. And so here we are. Everything we're going to do today starts with a command of fit media. And so what we're looking for is what sort of clip am I going to put in there, and where is it going to start, and where is it going to end? And so remember, going back to the iMovie example, we have tracks that kind of start layering on top of each other. And then I have to tell you where it starts and ends. And some will connect it to how many seconds it's playing. You'll start seeing these things develop as we go through, and it'll make a little bit more sense. But in the smaller screen down here, you can see that this fit media has a beat. It has a comma, because all these notations and specific symbols in coding is huge, because there may be some errors that may or may not happen. And the great thing about this program is we'll have a giant red bar that comes up and says, hey, you have an error on this line. So that's a lot better than me, who may think I know Python coding. However, if I had a whole bunch of Python coding text and there was an issue that was broken, I may be stuck. So I need some help.
And I could struggle. And students, I quickly noticed, because Python coding is so character specific, which is not a bad thing, right? If I was designing something or prototyping, I'd want it to be precise. But some students might not spot if they've accidentally deleted a comma or things. So if you are having trouble or troubleshooting with your students, you can always delete the line of code and then start fresh. That's kind of my suggestion for students if they're having some troubles debugging. And as a teacher, if you're not spotting it, just redo the line of code.
Exactly. And it's a great opportunity for us to kind of learn together too, because there's going to be instances where when I've been facilitating these sessions, I'm like, oh, that's a unique problem. Let's figure it out together. So I didn't need to be the whole expert in the room here. So I will jump back to the EarSketch platform, just because everything I'm going to do is going to be that fit media piece. Here we go. And let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on line 5. And if you see that if I hit enter many times, it's just going to continue to add lines, which is going to be part of our expression, part of our story. I'm going to see here, I am making different parts more visible here by using the sort of options that I showed you earlier. So on line 5, I'm going to start typing in fit. And the great thing is I don't have to copy and paste this every time. I can just basically hit enter, and it's telling me a couple things. One, fit media bracket sound. So what it's asking me for now is some sound. So let's see if I go to show only there. So I've got a couple things. I'm going to, sometimes I highlight it or just put my cursor there, and it's good about inserting it, but you can always just make sure or remove the word sound. Up here, now that we've started our project, you can see that I now have a clipboard. It says paste to editor. So by going right here and I click on it, you're going to see it jump right into this area where the word sound is. And it's going to replace the word sound in that case, because I've clicked in there. And then what I'm going to highlight right now, and I want to show you that there's going to be an error. I'm going to click on the word run, because nothing has appeared up here because I haven't run. It's like for those familiar with Google Sites or anything like that, this is our draft area, and when you want to publish it, or not publish it to the web, but in this case actually run it so that we can do stuff and see if that is actually working. If I click on run right now, it has this error that pops up at the bottom, and maybe hard to read, but it says there's error with it that's not defined. It says track is not defined on line 5. I'm like, okay, that's great, because it's actually telling me a little bit more about what to do. And remember, I have the help area on the curriculum on the right-hand side that I could use. But right now, I can tell you that I have chosen this and not completed it just based on purpose, so you could see that error message. So track is like those levels that are going to be later on top of each other. In the example I showed you, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I'm going to start with track 1 so you can understand what it means. So I'm just going to go here, 1, and I still have 1 comma. Just make sure you don't erase that comma. Start, I'm going to choose a 1. And guess what? When you choose an ending, it can't be the same number as where you start, because it can't start and stop at the exact same time. So I'm just going to put the number 2, just so you can see what I'm actually referring to, because this will give you more semblance as you move forward. I'm going to click on run in the green button here, and boom, something pops up top. Now you're on track number 1 where my cursor is. So that's track 1 here. Your media is what the first part was, track 1. And at the top, you can see here's our timing, 1 and 2. That's where it stops. And if I click this button, I always do it myself. I think it usually starts at the beginning most of the time, but I click on reset and then the green button. That's all it did. So it was really short. You can see that clip was kind of short. So what could I do to hear it multiple times? Well, I could change where it finishes up. So I'm going to choose, instead of 2, I'm going to choose 8. I've gone up to 20. Some of the competition, I think, was 30 seconds, Emma, if I was correct.
Yeah, if you are looking to submit one in the contest, it's not 30 tracks, but 30 seconds. And you can see when Bill clicks run, you can see now it has the timing at the top. And because that track, the first track they ended, is that, if I'm reading correctly, you're at 14 seconds, but we're going to add lots. Of course, you want to have way more than 1 track. Little spoiler, sort of a spoiler. I think one of the winners of previous years had more than like 30 tracks. So I would definitely be layering, partly because you can, but partly the more track layers you put in, just the power of the sound.
So you can kind of hear it in the background right now that in this case, it's 4 seconds. It's looping everyone. And if I got caught in between, it only does half of it and kind of gets caught in the middle. So you'll always have to adjust based on what you're there. And remember, there's small snippets of audio or that you're not going to get like a whole song there, that you're going to have to be creative with that. So that's in the background right there. So that line is basically done. Tempo is something that can be done as the whole. So the whole project, or eventually as you get more experienced within it, you can do it for different parts. Like you could speed up what we just put in there so that it's not so elongated, so that it's repeating quicker. And you can change the tempo based on individual, but we're not going to talk about that today. But let's add in some audio. So there's the sound. Let's see if I can get in there. And there's our favorited that we did before with Pharrell. Let's add it in there. What track do you think I'm going to put this on there, Emma? What do you think we should start out next?
Well, if we've done our first track, we need to get our second track.
Let's do it. Let's get us on track 2. Let's start.
But should we start at 2 where we're like building up a little bit?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, let's start on there 2 and let's end at 6.
I think I almost need a little warm up to my song sometimes before it gets into the big. That's just how my brain works.
Yeah. Do you want to go 3? Maybe I'll go 3 here. And we'll click run, just so that people see that now it's coming at 3. I'm going to click on reset.
Black man, 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 black.
And it jumps
like
right. It jumps right in there. Yeah, it kind of started off slow.
Someone's coming and it's going to be big.
Yeah, that's right. And so if we continue to go here, we can do fit media. And I'm just going to get out of these show my only favorites. Let's see. Let's go into instruments. Let's go into maybe piano. Who knows what we got going on here? Oh, kind of like that.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Okay. Now what track?
Well, see, I almost think I want to start it at 2 to like build, like to add a little bit more to that intro a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if I do that and we start it.
So track 3, I mean, but then start it at.
Okay.
Sorry,
I didn't know. I thought we were gonna do it and see if there was gonna be an error.
No, track 3, but starting at 2.
Starting at 2.
Getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll put this till 10. See what it goes on. There we go. See, now we need to know why we want to move these around because it starts building up so quickly. I'm gonna reset.
Black man, black man,
I like that.
Black man, black man, black man, black man.
Yeah, I've trying to figure out because in my head I want it to kind of come in a little bit to the song, to the vocals, and maybe I want to slow it down a little bit because I like what it's saying. But those are things I'm wondering how I could do in the future. But for now, I think we're getting the gist of what we need to do, which is we're going to find a line and we are going to add an audio clip, whether it's vocals or instrument, and we're going to start playing around with it. And because this is meant to be iterative, you're going to change what these are doing. But remember, if you add or even change this number to a different number, like if you just go, okay, I want this to be 2, what do I have to press again for it to make the changes? I have to click on run here to make the changes as well. So we're going to give you about 5 minutes to be able to create your own. You should click around and start putting things in there as well. And then we'll see you. So you can pause and we'll see you when you're ready to jump back in.
Happy mixing. It's so cool. Like instant, like with a few clicks, you're bringing your very own original track to life. Like that concept in itself was blowing my students' minds.
Yeah. And a lot of people, would say that sometimes I'm not very creative, that type of thing. I wouldn't say like I'm the most artistically creative, but the ability to say in music, I'm able to take this and then obviously start learning to code and start sharing my story with and become musical or more musical. It's such an awesome feeling to be able to try to pull these things together when it's up here in my brain and trying to get it out here the way I want it. So happy remixing.
And this is just my own little teacher trip. I know I'm in British Columbia, but I think Indigenous ways of learning and being and storytelling are really important. So I often encourage / requirement. I'd like my students to always include one aspect of one of the Indigenous artists because I think that's really important.
100%. All right. Well, welcome back. Hopefully you had a good time remixing. And I wish I was there kind of, when our students go through this or any educators go through this, and whether they have headphones or not, you can see the expressions on their face as they're going through, they're accomplishing something, or they're just discovering different artists or tunes that they've heard before. It's priceless. So hopefully you've had that experience with you. And it'd be great to somehow one day figure out all these creative solutions that people and teachers and educators can actually go into this competition as well, which is I didn't know. So if you really get hooked on something, you can actually model to your students that you're going to submit to. All right. So I think for the purpose of today, Emma, we've kind of hit the mark right here because we could just continue to build and kind of shape it and change it and delete and add and, just kind of be creative. So I'm going to sort of stop it there, but I do have some questions sometimes that we get asked, which is, could a student put their own voice in there? And the quick question, or is there their own files, is yes, they can. By clicking on add sound here, you could have recorded yourself, just speaking into something with a message about what you're trying to bring forward and use that in an audio clip. Anything you've created in these sort of files, you could actually do it. But there's also a quick record where you're right in there and they can record your voice or different free sounds. So I get asked that as people start digging in and say, oh, well, I really want to say something or have something repeat. Can it be my voice? Absolutely, it can. So I'm going to pop back to the slide deck and I'll jump ahead a little bit because we've just been doing all this as we go through. But the quick question is, Yes, we've spent some time. You've spent some time on here. Do you need to be the expert? No, you don't need to be the expert. But have you learned a lot in the last bit? Hopefully, you have, and been able to take away, at least being able to log in and be feeling comfortable about sharing this with your students. But guess what? We're given some free opportunities to be able to share this and lead lessons for your students with us at the helm. And so we'll be able to sort of co-teach these with you. And so we got you. Logix has been using this funding with our amazing partners to be able to bring that forward. So here in Ontario, you're going to have 4 opportunities. So obviously you're just going to choose one. But if you have multiple classes with different students, you could choose multiple, I guess, but all you need is one for each set of students. And here in Ontario, Wednesday, February 18th, either at 8:30 a.m. to 9:30, 10 to 11, 11:30 a.m. To 12. Actually, that should say 12:30, and then 1 p.m. to 2. So I'll correct that. So 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 on those 4 options. And on the registration page, it should be accurate. And I know we're updating it to say February 18th. And so how do you get there? Well, you're going to visit this awesome link that you've accessed, logix.eventbuilder.com/event and the number 92423, but you can click on it on the screen and click the register now for the event that you want. And of course, if you need a second one, you'd have to do that a second time for a different one, so you get the proper link for that event. Here's a little bit about the contest, because if we started with the contest, you could get a little scared right off the bat, because you're like, I'm just doing this for a contest. No, this tool, as you've seen, is very creative in its power to be able to use it as its own. However, I think once you get in there and see the power of it, you're going to want to allow and introduce this part to your students to give them the option to be able to do it. And tie it to your curriculum as an opportunity for them to share their learning and their voice in this way. It could be hand in hand. It doesn't have to be looked at as an add-on. So typically they launch in the new year and are submitted by the end of June for the contests that we go through in 2026. I'm going to click on an example here of what the winner from 2022, and then we have the example from 2025 here. And when I click on it, it's actually going to open it up, and very similar. There's nothing up here in my workstation. All I have to do is click on run, and it will load. And here's an example as I bring down screens.
And I encourage you to check how many tracks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's why I was trying to make it as small. So you can see that right now there's 15 tracks. But if we look at the code and I start scrolling, set tempo. See how there's different tempos? We were talking about how you can get different lines.
Bill, can you just switch? You're on the...
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I just did that.
But look at all the tracks there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just fascinating how they've added, like, there's repetition. There's so many different elements that they've included to express themselves. And I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see there's some Fit Media that we started with, but they've obviously learned more about the program and dug in and continued to learn about it. And you can just see how many lines, how many tracks there were, but how many lines of code right now is there in here.
And it looks like it finishes at 105 lines of code.
Yeah, just at 102 there, but yeah.
And those aren't tracks. There isn't that many tracks.
These are lines of code. Yep. And here's the amount of tracks that we're alluding to. And so what does it sound like? Well, this is one of the winners. So
doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. Doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. Doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. We must do something, and we need to do it now.
Almost like you're screaming, no one hears your voice. We want the freedom and not the illusion. We are the warriors. The ones that you read in the stories, we are notorious.
I love it. Every time I always scroll down on this one, Emma, because these little notations like that. That's creativity in there, just about those little how did they get in there between the, like, what was the coding for how long it had to be, like all these questions I have about what this student was able to do, but so amazing. And no doubt that is recognition of why they won one of the competitions. So in here it does give you a bit on their website. It gives you all the examples of who has won and kind of came across. And then within their coding as well, they can just put text, which is nice. So you can see them actually add a little bit about what they want in addition to what they've included just in a line of code. And so it's not a line of code, it's just a little bit of text sharing more about their story. But what do you kind of need to do? They're on the website, the link here, the song requirements for this competition. Here's an example of here, so it's not so open-ended here. The song is a minimum of 30 seconds, so not 30 tracks, 30 seconds. Has at least 5 unique sounds, and it has at least 1 sound clip from an Indigenous artist. It's original, and you've changed the style, the tempo, order of beats, or mixed in new sounds. And you can add in, of course, anything that you have done and created in terms of your own voice. So those are things that you can do, and there's some scholarships that go with it for those students that would be selected. Again, it's selected in June, so it's done a little bit earlier in the spring. So important. Here's the exit survey. Your voice is power, so YVIP -PD -form. Remember, 1, we want it as facilitators, Logix does, but 2, we wanted to support the learning and ultimately the next steps of funding for our students in Canada from our great partners that have put this on, which is CanCode and our Amazon partners here. Don't forget that $100 gift card as we go through. That's just a bonus. That's just the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Like,
and it's worth it. It's not a long survey. It's going to take about 2 minutes. It's really seamless. It's really straightforward. In fact, we're not even looking for full sentences. So, you know, a lot of it's very like numerical, just so we can track the reach and, you know, to give back to the people that are funding it, so to let them know that their program and their initiatives and to the artists to know that they're making a difference and having students express their voices.
You're right. We're teachers too. We don't want you to put too much more on your plate. So it's nice and simple to get complete. So out of all this, Emma, first of all, thank you for being a co-facilitator with me today. I love it. I appreciate you and all the sort of authenticity you brought from your experience and your students into the program. So again, it's been awesome.
And thank you, Bill. You gave us such a beautiful taster of this Your Voice is Power program. It's so great that we're bringing it to every province and connecting it to the curriculum. And if we can support you in any way with this program, just reach out to us at Logix. And we're always happy to support. And like I said, this is free. So why not take advantage of this program that is just delivering curriculum and engaging students? It is so worth the investment of your time. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.